Today's headline is Fined, Moves House. Captain Pote held a court for sailing on Sunday. The subheadline says, House built 175 years ago at Wolf's Neck by mariner who transported building from Fowlsmith Forsyth on his vessel. This article originally came from Boston. It says, few houses have a more interesting history than the old Greenfield Pote House at Wolf's Neck, now owned and occupied by Evan C. Banks. The house was originally built at Falmouth Forsyth by Captain Greenfield Pote, a well-to-do mariner. Just when the house was built, nobody knows, but it must have been fully 175 years ago, as in 1762, Captain Pote had been living at Falmouth Forsyth for many years and was quite prominent in the town. In 1762, Captain Pote had brought the ship to his home port while he spent a few days with his family. When the date came for his departure, there was no wind, and his sailing was delayed. For a week, the ship lay becalmed, and Captain Pote began to get uneasy, as every day's delay in starting was costing him good money. Finally, on Sunday, a good sailing breeze sprang up, and Captain Pote summoned his crew and put to sea. He was gone for many weeks, but upon his return, he was arrested by a constable and brought into court. The old puritanical Sabbath laws forbid mariners to leave port on the Sabbath, and during his absence, one of his neighbors, who evidently had a grudge of some kind against the sea captain, had entered a protest against his wicked violation of the Lord's Day. In court, Captain Pote attempted to justify his action by the long delay that had been occasioned by the calm, but the presiding justice would listen to no excuses and imposed a large fine upon the angry mariner. So angry did the captain become with the town and its inhabitants that he vowed that he would leave it never to return, and that he would take all his possessions with him. He straightway proceeded to tear down the house and loaded that and all his other possessions on board his vessel and transported the property to Wolf's Neck, where the house was set up in a sightly location overlooking the sea. At that time, Freeport was a part of the old town of North Yarmouth. In locating his house on Wolf's Neck, Captain Pote made one serious mistake. He failed to study the lay of the land sufficiently to determine where the road would be laid out, and when a road was finally built, it passed the back of the house instead of the front. This necessitated changing the interior of the house sufficiently to give a front door at the back of the house. Here, on Wolf's Neck, Captain Pote lived until his death, September 29, 1797. On the hill which rises a short distance west of the house, he was buried. His gravestone shows that he was born in May 1736 and that he married Jane Grant in 1758. He was the father of several children, to one of whom, William Pote, the property passed upon his death. Another son went to sea in the privateer Dash, which was built and fitted out by Freeport people. The privateer left Freeport just before a big storm and was never heard from afterward. As years went by, the number of graves in the cemetery increased, and finally the property passed out of the Pote family. In 1855, Samuel Banks of Saco moved to Freeport and was so well pleased with the location of the property that he purchased it. The property has since been in the Banks family, its present owner, Evan C. Banks, being the son of Samuel. A feature of the house is the big cellar, the entrance to which is on the south side of the house, just to one side of the front door. This story came from the great state of Texas, being reported in the Burnett Bulletin of January 30th, 1913. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to continue to uncover all of America's lost and forgotten history, then remember before you leave to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and remember to like and comment below. And we will see you next time on Americana Archives.